Happy Pride Month, everybody, and welcome back to Straight Guy Queer Eye. I'm your host, Paul Yen. We're on episode sexy number 6. In last week's episode, I said I didn't know the Pussycat Dolls music. That's because they don't make music. They are a burlesque troupe, and Robin Antin, who is a dancer and choreographer, founded the troupe. I looked it up and saw a girl group and assumed it was a girl group, so my apologies for that. I wasn't clear when I was bummed about Angina going home, but I also felt that BB absolutely deserved to stay too, especially because she's the strongest queen of season 1. I was bummed because I immediately knew Angina would lose because on track record alone, BB is the stronger queen. So yes, BB absolutely deserved to stay. I was just sad to see Angina go. I also, this isn't a correction, but I wanted to shout out that a federal judge appointed by the previous president, who I won't name, struck down what would have been the first in the nation law banning drag shows in Tennessee because it's unconstitutional. So hooray for that. Ethics statement. As always, we have an ethics statement that I want to make clear to everybody listening. Being straight gives me privileges that the queer community does not get. I will never fully understand the trauma, the drama, and all the other homophobic, stupid bullshit that queer people deal with on a daily basis. I am not an expert in queer culture. I'm also not a therapist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, or a doctor. As host of the Straight Guy Queer Eye podcast, I am here to introduce people to shows that I love and that I really enjoy. And most importantly, I'm here to listen and to learn about the queer community, and I hope to pass that knowledge on to like-minded people who want to make some sort of difference in the queer community, their own community, and in their own lives. A quick recap of episode 6. There are only 4 queens remaining. BB Zahara, who I think is the strongest, Shannel, Nina Flowers, who I think is a close second, and Rebecca Glasscock. The queens come into the workroom and are asked to meet RuPaul on the runway, which hasn't been done this season so far. The mini challenge is a Vogue off. Drag dictionary. I got this straight off the internet because I didn't want to screw it up. But voguing is defined as a highly stylized modern house dance originating in the late 1980s that evolved out of the Harlem ballroom scene of the 1960s. It gained mainstream exposure when it was featured in Madonna's song and video Vogue from 1990, and when showcased in the 1990 documentary Paris is Burning, which went on to win the Grand Jury Prize at the 1991 Sundance Film Festival. In its modern form, this dance has become a global phenomenon that continues to evolve both stylistically and demographically. So my interpretation is that voguing is a freestyle dance where you can duck walk, catwalk, you pose as you dance. Voguing, like the definition said, was introduced in the documentary Paris is Burning, which I will be going over after we're done with season 1 of RuPaul's Drag Race. This is also, like it said, where Madonna learned it from and brought it to the mainstream. On the Race Chaser podcast, Willem said that it was appropriated by Madonna, and I think that's an appropriate term to use for that. So they're going to take turns voguing, so they're going to pop, dip, and spin, and at the end, Ru will pick a winner. She tells them to bring it to the ball. Drag dictionary. Yet again, I used the internet for this because I didn't want to screw this up. But a ball is an African American and Latino underground LGBTQ+ subculture that originated in New York City. Beginning in the late 20th century, Black and Latino drag queens began to organize their own pageants in opposition to racism that they experienced in established drag queen pageant circuits. So to me, a ball or a drag ball is a celebration where queer people of color come to express themselves through competition, through fashion, through dance, and other forms of self-expression categories that usually consists, or often always consists, of drag queens, drag kings, and trans performers. So they each vogue for Ru on the runway, and my top picks were Nina Flowers and Rebecca Glasscock, and the winner was Nina Flowers. The Maxi Challenge is that on the main stage, they're going to throw a house ball sponsored by Absolute Vodka. They're going to be creating 3 looks. The first look is a swimwear look. Looking sexy in a swimsuit is the ultimate test of a drag illusionist, says RuPaul. Second category is executive realness. Drag dictionary. Realness just means the real version of something, not the drag version of something. So in this case, they want the queens to present an executive to pass as a real businesswoman, not a drag queen. Think CEO diva is what RuPaul says. They can use their own wardrobe or they can start from scratch. And the third category is evening gown. Ru wants to be gagging on the extravaganza and eleganza of evening wear. Drag dictionary. Gagging means to be impressed or to be wowed by something. So if you're gagging over that person's outfit, you're impressed by it. And of course, the queens will be making their own outfits for this challenge, for the evening gown part of it. Ru tells the girls that this is the opportunity to pull out all the stops, and because this event is sponsored by Absolute Vodka, each queen will take their inspiration from either Absolute Citron, lemon, mandarin, mango, and raspberry. And because Nina Flowers won the Voguing mini challenge, she gets to assign each queen to each flavor. And I think she does a really good job. She's really diplomatic about it. She chose mango for herself, which is green. BB was assigned Miss Raspberry, so red. Shannel was assigned Miss Mandarin, orange. And Rebecca was assigned Miss Citron, or lemon, which is yellow. The judges will be looking for their charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent in the House of Absolute. Drag dictionary. A house is essentially an alternative family where drag queens, trans people, and or queer people belong to. So if I were your drag mother, you'd be a member of the House of Yen. Assistance will be provided by Marco, and all of the materials provided are exactly the same, just different colors, obviously. There's fabric. I see a boa or a feathered scarf. I see sheer fabric. I didn't realize this at first. I thought Marco was the brand of the fabric or who was providing the materials, but they actually provide assistance to the queens behind the cameras to help create their evening gowns. See, I learned that from listening to the Race Chaser podcast, so thank you to them. Everyone in the workroom is absolutely stressed, but BB was the most stressed. She's 6'2", and she felt like there wasn't enough material. Maybe being in the bottom last week is getting to her. The second most stressed, I'd say, was Shannel, because she says they're not seamstresses. They don't know how to sew or put, together an outfit. BB asked Nina Flowers to help, and Nina helped her, which I think says a lot about Nina, because she's got to focus on her own outfit, but she's willing to put out the time to help BB as well. And in later seasons, you start to see a lot of camaraderie between a lot of the queens. Rebecca Glasscock was holding her cards close to her chest. She didn't show any stress at all and didn't give Ru any details about her outfit, so there wouldn't be any expectations. Nina Flowers, who's an experienced seamstress, when she has patterns, didn't bring any patterns, but she was crafty and she cut patterns out of something she brought. She revealed that her inspiration for her executive look was her mom, who passed away, who was a secretary and always conservative and elegant. She revealed that mothers are very influential for drag queens and that her mother always pushed her to pursue what she wanted in life. And then during this moment, they show pictures of Nina and her mom, and it's just very touching. I love these kinds of moments because often the queens are putting on a presentation because it's their alter ego. But then when you see them who they were as children and who they are outside of drag and with their friends or their family, it just really makes you connect with them more. And those are honestly some of my favorite things on the show. RuPaul comes into the workroom with a special guest, a woman named Charo, to cheer up the stressed out queens. Charo, who was originally from Spain, she's a flamenco guitarist. She's a singer, an actress, and a comedian. She's very outgoing and has a very specific type of comedy to her. She has this thing where she says, "Cuchi, cuchi, cuchi." She's always very energetic when she comes in. She speaks with a heavy Spanish accent, and she gets all the queens to dance. They do the conga line, and then, of course, RuPaul drops a twist on the challenge, that the queens have to cleverly incorporate their real fruit into their evening gown presentation. So just a reminder, BB has raspberry, Shannel has mandarin, Nina has mango, and Rebecca Glasscock has citron or lemon. And a little side moment, when they're interviewing Nina, she tells us that her favorite part of doing drag is the transformation. As she puts on the makeup, the pads, the outfit, she feels like Nina is taking over more and more, and a different persona comes out. And she says that's really where the art is. Runway. Category is executive realness, swimsuit, and evening gown. The judges, of course, are Merle Ginsburg and Santino Rice. Guest judge is Absolute Vodka's image czar, Jeffrey Moran, and extra special guest judge, actress, singer, and former Miss Venezuela, Maria Conchita Alonso. Something a little different on the runway this week. After each queen walks the runway, they are asked, in an absolute world, why should you win RuPaul's Drag Race? And we'll get to that. Executive category. So BB wore a black skirt with a burgundy blouse, which was the same outfit she wore for her Oprah outfit. She had glasses on, she had a phone, and she looked great nonetheless. She, acted like a CEO. When asked the question, why should you win RuPaul's Drag Race? Her answer was that if she wins, she'd let people know that there's pride and dignity in what they do, and that dressing up for a living doesn't make them less of a man. And obviously she meant dressing up as a woman. Nina Flowers came out and had a full-on green skirt that was connected. I don't even know what that type of skirt is called, and a green shawl. She made this herself along with a briefcase. She didn't make the briefcase, but she had long straight hair on and glasses, and she looked feminine. And I remember at the beginning of the season, Bob Mackie said that he wanted to see her to be able to soften up, and I think she did a great job here. This is the most conservative outfit she's been in all season. I think Merle Ginsburg said this is some Gina Davis realness. Her answer to why she should become the first winner or the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race was, for the last 15 years of her life, she's dedicated herself to the art of female impersonation and wants to share with the rest of the world her experience and inspire others. Shannel had on a black pencil skirt with a sleeveless orange blouse with a floral pattern on it. So I don't think she made this blouse. She had straight-ish blonde hair. She held a briefcase. She had a cell phone and was on it like a CEO would be. This is the most conservative and toned down I've seen her, and she looked really good. I felt like she'd finally taken the judges' notes on her executive runway walk, or look. Her answer to why she should win RuPaul's Drag Race was that, first of all, it was kind of weird. She greeted everyone by saying, first of all, I'd like to thank the judges and things like that. And then she gave her answer. So she says, as an entertainer and as a gentleman, she's happy with who she is. She looks in the mirror and loves herself. I love who I am, is what she says. And this seemed to put the judges off, maybe because it felt rehearsed and not personal. And then when I was listening to the Race Chaser podcast, I learned that this is typical in a pageant setting, and that's the world that Shannel came from, which is why it felt a little not genuine and more put on. Rebecca Glasscock came out in a pantsuit with a jacket, a pinstripe jacket and pants. And it wasn't my favorite look, and it wasn't because of the suit. I think it was because of the yellow blouse kind of sticking out, and the yellow and the black just looks kind of weird to me. She took off the jacket to reveal a yellow blouse that had dangling, frilly, twirly things on it, and she was on the phone, of course, too. The frilly things hanging off didn't read as executive realness to me, and her answer to why she should win was, I want this, I really do, and that this was her dream, and she has the drive and determination, and she's going to keep going until she fulfills her dream. Swimsuit category. So each queen, after their swimsuit runway walk, they introduce themselves as Miss whatever the fruit is. So Miss Mango, Miss Citron, Miss Mandarin, and Miss Mango. Did I already say mango? I don't remember. So BB came out and she was covered in a shawl, and then she revealed a raspberry-colored bikini and a big feather on her head. It was really impressive. Maria Conchita Alonso turned to Ru and asked, where does it go? As in, how do they hide their dick? And RuPaul tells her it's an ancient Chinese secret. Nina Flowers came out in a green bathing suit and a yellow, maybe gold shawl. She looked really good too. And again, this is when I think Nina shines because she shows her versatility. And one of the judges compares her to Brigitte Bardot. And then Shannel, of course, had on an orange bikini held together with bows on each side of her hips and an orange loose-brimmed hat. She looked really, really good. I think this is the strongest that Shannel has looked so far all season. But then she introduced herself and again had this very pageant-y feel to it. She was like, "I'm Miss Mandarin." And it was just really weird. It sounded super fake. And then she one-upped that, downgraded it maybe, by doing this weird Silence of the Lambs licking thing that Hannibal does. So I'll try to let you hear what it sounds like. This is a horrible version of it, but it was already bad as it was. But she goes, And I apologize for that. I know that's disgusting. That definitely turned the judges off. And RuPaul even said, as Shannel was walking off the runway, she said, "Something to wash down the fava beans." And then Rebecca Glasscock came out and had on a yellow bathing suit. It was really simple, but she looked really, really sexy in it. And the judges really liked it. Now on to the main event of the main event, the evening gown extravaganza category. BB, I feel like I'm saying the same thing every single week, but she slayed that shit. If y'all aren't watching, you are missing out. She came out in a skin-tight dress. I don't know, like almost as tight as you can imagine a mermaid fin to be. Mermaid tight is what I call it. And from her knees to her feet, it was covered with this sheer foofy thing. I don't know what to call it. I can't really describe it, but she looked immaculate. She used raspberries. She incorporated the raspberries into her hairpiece or her hair accessories. I don't know, but it looked really beautiful. And the pun of the week goes to RuPaul. When BB walked out on stage, Ru said, "Raspberry? Diana, raspberry." I thought that was really clever. But yes, that was a winner for me for sure. Nina Flowers came out and had on a very elegant, free-flowing evening gown. It had a slit up the front of her dress that revealed a slightly darker green piece underneath, and she incorporated the rind of the mango onto her neck piece or collar and her belt buckle ornament. It was really nice. It just looked very summery. And then Shannel came out. Her gown had a bit too much going on for me. I had trouble really trying to write down notes for what it looked like. It had a big puffy orange pillow thing on her right shoulder. It just didn't flow for me, and I don't think she incorporated her fruit at all, not that I saw, and the judges didn't point it out. So I'm not sure, but at this point, I definitely guessed that she would be the bottom for the week, especially after the Hannibal Lecter thing. And then Rebecca Glasscock came out. When she first stepped onto the runway, I saw a beautiful yellow gown. She looked like a Greek goddess meets Belle from Beauty and the Beast. The judges seemed impressed. You can hear RuPaul give a loud gasp. This is the most beautiful I've seen her makeup, but on the close-up, I really liked her gown from the chest up, but I didn't like the details on the dress, and I couldn't really put my finger on it. And I do have to knock that her fruit was literally 2 whole lemons on the side of her dress, and she put lemons in her hair. I don't think it was incorporated well. The judges' critiques were, they thought that BB brought a different look for each of her looks. Santino felt like this is the best BB's makeup had ever looked. Nina, they just loved how she was able to be more feminine, and they just really adored her look. Shannel, Santino said there's something inauthentic about her answer, and I definitely have to agree with him on this because, and I don't know the pageant world, but it was very put on when I think what they were looking for is just for the queens to just mostly be themselves. Merle Ginsburg liked her executive look the most, and I agree. She looked great. She looked beautiful. as an executive. And I also think she looked great in her bathing suit, which I already said. Jeffrey Moran loved her bathing suit, but thought she overdid it with the evening gown. He said that it was a drink you're afraid to order. For Rebecca, Maria didn't like her dress at all. Santino says her dress read like corn because it had, that's what I was saying, I couldn't describe it, but it looked like a corset and it had these kind of triangles sticking out of it, jagged, it looked like teeth, but he describes it really well. He says that it looked like a corn husk and it doesn't read as lemon. And then he also noticed that the hem at the bottom of her dress was unfinished. I wouldn't have noticed that at all. And then the only positive that came out of the whole judging panel from Jeffrey Moran was that he said he liked the lemon in her hair, and I don't think she made the lemon. So we each know that the queen was individually asked why they thought they should be the winner. But now that the runway walks were done and they were all lined up together, RuPaul wanted to know or to hear them say who should get eliminated and why in front of each other. Super shady, but to create drama. Rebecca Glasscock went first, and she asked if she could only pick one, which I thought was really funny. She said she loved all the girls and that some have peaked, and she was kind of beating around the bush, but RuPaul said you have to name one, and so she named Shannel. Why? Because she's a little annoying at times. Nina was next, and she answered right away, Rebecca. And her why was because America's next drag superstar should be someone with experience, so they can take the title with dignity and respect. BB was third, and she also said Rebecca. Why? It's frustrating to work with her, and compared to the remaining queens, Rebecca is at a lower level. Ooh. And then Shannel was last to go, and she said, I am so glad you asked me this question. She nominated herself, and I was shocked. The judges were shocked, and I keep saying this to you guys. I've watched this before, but I totally didn't remember that. I stopped the recording, went out to Maggie, and was like, I didn't remember that. And her why was because she just didn't want to be here anymore. She said she's frustrated because she feels that since day one, she's been judged really hard and frustrated that or that the judges didn't see her personality, and all she's gotten has been negative feedback, and she feels like she hadn't been once told that she's beautiful, which I disagree with. She's been told that she's beautiful quite a few times. She hadn't won a mini challenge or a maxi challenge, but ultimately she thinks she's beautiful, and that's all that matters, which I agree. If you think you look great and you think you're beautiful, hey, good on you. But yeah, like I said, the judges were all shocked and completely thrown off. RuPaul, Santino Rice, Merle Ginsburg, they all reaffirmed her that she was beautiful, and RuPaul reminded her that she was here and still here for a reason. Spoiler alert, if you have not watched the episode and don't want to know who wins and who goes home, this is where you should stop and go watch the episode. The queen who was safe this week was Nina Flowers, and the winner of week 6 is BB Zahara. That makes it, I think, 3 wins for her. So the bottoms of the week are arch rivals Shannel and Rebecca Glasscock, and they had to lip sync to one of RuPaul's favorite songs, Shackle by Mary Mary. And they both did it. They both brought what they brought. Again, no splits, no anything crazy. They both just lip synced to the song, and Shannel, if she had truly wanted to give up and was over it, then maybe she would have pulled like a Tammy Brown and just not lip sync or sync to it at all, but she went for it. And so this brought into question one of the judges, I think Maria, said she wondered if this was all kind of a show. I don't think so. I think Shannel was just over it because she was just tired of not winning, because she thought every week she thought she should win. And so she snapped. And I think that, you know, again, she says that she's a professional, and that so she carried out she carried out the challenge of lip syncing against Rebecca Glasscock, and she brought it. And ultimately, Shantae, Rebecca Glasscock stays, and Shannel was asked to sashay away. So the final three queens are Bibi Zahara, Nina Flowers, and Rebecca Glasscock. These are the things that stood out to me in episode 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race, when Nina Glasscock revealed that her mother was her inspiration for when she does drag. How many of us are inspired by our mothers? Not just for being mothers, but by what they do and what they choose to do in their lives. I know my mom didn't want to come over here and be a nail salon, employee, but she did it in order to survive and to provide for her kids. When I was younger, I definitely took my mom for granted, and we didn't agree on a lot of things. She was really against me dating and having a girlfriend, and she'd be on my ass for being out late and for cleaning up after myself. These are all things that a lot of moms do. Some to different degrees, either way, either didn't care or cared too much, but I rebelled against a lot of it. But as I've gotten older, I've come to realize that I'm a lot like my mom in different ways. I'm a neat freak about keeping things in order in my own home. I've learned to love unconditionally and to try and give as much of myself as possible when I love someone. I'm a people pleaser. My mom is definitely that. I stress about the little things. I used to worry about what people thought about me. And to this day, my mom still has annoying tendencies. But when I realize that a lot of it is coming from a place of love, I embrace it much better than I used to. And if it's not obvious already, my mom was influential to the person I've become. So when I see Nina Flowers and how smitten she is over her mom, it makes me happy to see how confident Nina Flowers is. And you can see that a lot of it comes from the love and the support that she got from her mom. To all the moms listening out there, please continue to inspire us with all that you do and that you put up with. Keep pushing us to be better people. After Shannel chose herself to be eliminated from the competition, RuPaul, the mother of drag queens, the drag queen of dragons, was able to sincerely apologize to Shannel, and she told her she was beautiful. I think that says a lot about someone when they are able to apologize. Not that fake bullshit where they go, oh, if it offended someone, or if I offended you, then I am sorry. No, she just said, I am sorry. And considering that it came from the namesake of the show, I think that shows leadership. There are many quote-unquote manly men, masculine men, macho men who can't do that. Whether it be their pride or their ego, their stubbornness, their lack of empathy, whatever the case may be. I've known many of these types of men who haven't grown as people because they refuse to get out of their own way. That's the difference to me. Queer folks are able to live authentically as themselves. They're not perfect by any means, and they deal with egos and lack of empathy and things like that too. But straight men don't have to deal with being picked on for being gay or for their sexual preference, right? But at least in the queer community, queer folks can embrace who they are, their sexuality, in the face of the constant hatred they're getting. And now on the national and political stage, from cowards. And in the face of these cowards, the queer community has courage. And for those queer folks out there who are still struggling, if you're ever in doubt, please know that you've got at least this one ally who believes in you and appreciates you for who you are, who thinks you're brave and that you're courageous and that you have more balls than most people I know. So please love yourself, know that you're worthy, know that you're loved, and know that there is nothing wrong with you. I want to end today's show with a quote from Elliot Page during his interview with People magazine promoting his new book, Page Boy. He originally came out as gay and then as a trans man, and obviously I don't know what he went through. I'm sure there was judgment. I'm sure he had his critics. I'm sure he dealt with the highs and lows of his emotional roller coaster with his friends and his family. And he tells the story about how an A-list actor, a male, when Elliot Page first came out as gay, that this actor said, "Oh, you're not gay. I'm paraphrasing, but the actor said, I'll fuck the gay out of you." And Elliot Page is super classy, didn't name who the actor was, but that's the kind of emotional trauma that he had to deal with on his journey. But in the interview, he says, quote, "Today, I definitely feel a way that I never thought I would get to feel. I think that mostly manifests in how present I feel, the sort of ease and the ability to exist. There's been periods in my life where I really felt like I wasn't. I just feel so lucky. Happy Pride, everybody. Thank you, as usual, for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week for episode 7. If you are enjoying Straight Guy Queer Eye, please share it with 5 people you know. Give it a rating on your podcast app. You can also follow Straight Guy Queer Eye on Instagram and Twitter at SGQE Podcast. You can follow me on my personal Instagram at HelloPaulYen. I'd love to hear from you, so please send comments, suggestions, and feedback to sgqepodcast@gmail.com. Remember, be human, be kind.